What if the most dangerous moment of your existence happens every single night? The moment you close your eyes, you vanish. Your body lies still, completely unguarded, and surrendered to the dark. Whatever may be watching you, waiting, you would never know. You wouldn't hear it, see it, or feel it, unless, of course, it wanted you to. Many people believe that while sleeping, our consciousness slips through the veil to a different realm entirely. Dreams have been known to explore the deepest parts of our minds and even tell the future. Today's stories dive into the mystery that is dreams and what horrors lurk around our body in this plane while we sleep. Remember to leave a like, comment, and rating. Also follow me on whatever platform you're listening on, as that helps me out the most. Now let's begin. I'm your host, Michael Messerly, and this is Scary, but True. I went to bed at 9 p.m. last night, about 2 to 3 hours early for me, since I had missed a bunch of sleep the night before and wanted to recover some of the lost sleep. I woke up at 1:30 a.m. and went to the bathroom. At this point, nothing was out of the ordinary. I returned to my bed and fell asleep. I didn't feel like I was fully awake, but was conscious again. It felt similar to the sleep paralysis that I've experienced before, but I felt much more aware and conscious this time. I felt a presence right outside of my home in my driveway, and it began approaching. The more it approached, the more I began slightly shivering. I clearly heard the top lock of my front door slide and click open, although the door itself made no sound of being opened. It was as if the entity I sensed was making sure I knew it was not a human intruder. I felt it continue to approach and climb the stairs until it was outside my closed door, and I could hear the floorboards creaking, perhaps a creak every few seconds, far more than the normal. It went into the bathroom right next to my room, and I heard the bathroom fan turn on. At this point, I could feel the presence was immensely strong, and I was shivering more and more. I felt the presence enter my room through the door and begin approaching me until it was right beside my bed with my back facing towards it. I sleep with 4 pillows, and I felt and heard it take the pillow behind me and gently toss it against the wall I was facing. The pillow slid slowly and gently down the wall, almost as if the entity possessed the pillow. I could feel the presence around my head as this happened, so strong that I couldn't move anything and my jaw went slack. My shivering became an intense vibrating or shaking I could feel reverberating so strongly within my skull, like the crescendo of the experience. Next, I felt the presence exit my room, and I could tell I was no longer under any sort of sleep paralysis and could move freely. The bathroom fan was also no longer on, though I couldn't tell at which point it had been turned off. I still felt the presence waiting in the hall outside my door, and I had a very strong impression that it wanted me to follow it, to show me something. I was torn between burning curiosity and fear. I didn't move for a few moments, but somehow felt as if this presence wasn't malicious, so my nerves settled a little bit. I continued to hear the floorboards creaking a lot in the hall and grabbed my phone. It was 3:45 a.m. when I checked. After a few minutes, the presence continued to wait, so I said aloud, "I know you want me to follow you, but I'm too scared." Immediately, I got a notification on my iPhone telling me to close my move ring for the day. I started shaking more intensely again, but not near the level of the crescendo. I stayed put and began writing all this down in the notes app. While the presence continued to wait, it gradually started to fade, and by 4:05 a.m. I was no longer certain whether or not it was there. I texted my family group chat at 4:11 a.m. saying that I had just had intense sleep paralysis. My mom instantly texted back asking me if I was okay. She told me later she had just woken up a few minutes prior. She came to my room, we spoke, and I explained everything to her, but that was all the paranormal activity for the night.
If you're enjoying Scary But True, please remember to leave a like, comment, and rating. Also, follow me on whatever platform you're listening on, as that's really what helps me out. Thank you so much for listening. Now back to the episode.
For as long as I can remember, I've had vivid dreams about UFOs. They come and go, sometimes disappearing for months, even years. But when they return, they're intense, more real than dreams should be. My house is surrounded by a forest, and in these dreams, the lights always reappear above the treetops, silently hovering before descending closer. Recently, the dreams have become more frequent, and the details sharper, almost as if they're trying to tell me something. The lights move in strange, impossible ways, darting at incredible speeds, stopping suddenly, and hovering without a sound. There's an overwhelming silence in the dreams, suffocating and heavy. Even though I don't always see figures, I feel them watching from beyond the light. These dreams don't feel random, they feel deliberate, like something is trying to reach me. Since childhood, I've dealt with sleep paralysis, which often accompanies these experiences, but not always. When it happens, I wake up fully aware but completely paralyzed, unable to move or even cry for help. A crushing weight presses on my chest, and shadows gather around me, short, dark figures standing just at the edges of my vision. Sometimes they shift slightly, as if they're whispering among themselves. Other times, glowing red and orange orbs appear about the size of a volleyball, hovering in my room. They pulse with an eerie energy before disappearing as quickly as they arrived. When the paralysis finally breaks, I often wake up screaming, gasping for air. My wife knows this well. She's had to shake me awake many times, trying to calm me down while I catch my breath. Our house has been the site of countless strange phenomena over the years. Flickering lights, objects moving on their own, and an overwhelming sense of being watched in certain rooms. One time we've even received a strange voicemail message. That recording had no missed call attached to it, and went straight to voicemail, just an unidentifiable voice whispering in a language we just can't understand. We're a large family, 5 children, 2 dogs, 5 cats, and 5 chickens. Life in our home is always full of energy and activity. None of my kids had ever complained about any phenomena, but sometimes the animals behave strangely. The dogs refuse to enter certain areas of the house for no reason, while the cats sit still for long periods, staring into empty corners as if watching something only they can see. It's nothing overtly alarming, but just enough to make us wonder if they're sensing something invisible. Some of these strange events have been caught on video, some have only been witnessed. Doors opening on their own, strange flashes of light in dark rooms, and orbs floating through the air. But things recently took a more disturbing turn. On December 24th, 2024, during breakfast, my wife noticed something odd on our front door security camera. Intrigued, we checked the footage. Both the front door camera and the wide-angle camera on the corner of the house captured the same event, a glowing orb moving across the yard. It wasn't faint or ambiguous. You can even see the orb reflecting off my car near the end of the footage. It triggered our motion-activated lights as it passed by. It was the middle of the night, around negative 15 degrees Celsius. There were no insects, no birds, no reasonable explanation. I'll take a second to let you know that there is a video included in this story, a short one. and I've posted it on my Instagram at Scary But True Pod. Go there, check it out, and let me know what you think. Now back to our story. Then, on January 17th, 2025, our backyard camera recorded something even stranger. A shadow passed over the snow-covered ground, briefly blocking the moonlight. It rotated steadily above my house, but there was no visible source, nothing in the sky or around the house that could have cast it. Only a few days later, on January 21st, 2025, our side doorbell camera captured another mysterious orb. This one moved with purpose, not like dust or debris, but something gliding steadily through the air. It looked disturbingly similar to what we had seen on December 24th, raising more questions than answers. My wife is a practical, down-to-earth person. She's never believed in UFOs or the paranormal, always the rational one in our relationship. But after living through years of strange occurrences and now witnessing these recent events on camera, even she can't explain what's happening. The videos speak for themselves. Something unusual is happening around our home, something that feels connected to my experiences. These strange encounters aren't new to me. They've been with me since childhood, sparking a lifelong fascination with the paranormal. For nearly 10 years, I traveled across Canada and the United States in search of answers, visiting places known for strange phenomena and chasing the unexplained. It became part of my life, a relentless pursuit for meaning in the chaos. But something changed along the way. The activity at home began to intensify after each trip, almost like I was bringing something back with me. Every time I returned, the strange phenomena grew worse. More unexplained sounds, more objects moving, an overwhelming sense of being watched. It became too much. After 10 years, I quit cold turkey, cutting myself off from the paranormal field entirely. The activity at home slowed down after that, though it never truly stopped. It felt like whatever had followed me had lost interest, at least for a while. I'm not claiming to know what any of this means. I'm not saying I've been abducted, nor am I trying to convince anyone of anything. But when I piece everything together, the vivid UFO dreams, the sleep paralysis with shadow figures and glowing orbs, the strange voicemail message, the videos we've captured over the years, and the recent sightings, it's hard to ignore the connection. Maybe it's all coincidence. Maybe it's just my mind weaving patterns where there are none. But sometimes, late at night, when I wake up and feel that heavy, lingering presence in the room, I can't help but wonder if something is watching. Something that doesn't need to come often, because it already knows I'm here. So I've been wanting to share this story in the hope that someone might be able to help me identify what this thing is. This all starts around when I was 12 years old. Before I get into what happened, I need to provide some context. I remember these events vividly because they genuinely traumatized me. At the time, my family had just moved into a new apartment. I was actually excited about it because it was much nicer than the places we had lived in before. When I first walked through the apartment, nothing felt unusual. Everything seemed normal until I got to my bedroom. The moment I stepped inside, something was off. What caught my attention the most was the closet. It was one of those sliding door closets commonly found in apartments across the US. Every time I entered the room, my eyes would instinctively drift towards it. I couldn't explain why, but I constantly felt like something wasn't right. Once we finished moving in, I spent most of my free time in my room playing my Xbox 360. I didn't have a bed yet, so I slept on a pile of blankets on the floor. Whenever I was alone in that room, I felt like something was watching me from the closet. It became almost impossible not to stare at it. I kept expecting the doors to open. They never did, at least not at first. About a month after moving in, around 8 or 9 p.m., I was getting ready for bed. I shared the room with my younger brother, but he had taken the dog outside one last time before he went to sleep, leaving me alone. I was lying down and beginning to drift off when I heard loud banging come from inside the closet. At first, I thought I had imagined it, but then it got louder. The closet began shaking as if something was inside pushing against the doors. It sounded like a person trying to force their way out of a confined space. The noise continued for nearly 30 seconds. The blinds were open and a full moon illuminated enough of the room for me to see clearly. That's when the closet doors started moving. Slowly. The door slid open just enough for something inside to look directly at me. The inside of the closet was pitch black, but whatever was standing there somehow appeared darker than darkness itself. To this day, I struggle to describe it. It wasn't human, but it wasn't animal-like either. It had a tall, massive frame and seemed barely able to fit inside the closet. Its head looked sharp and pointed, and one of its arms appeared unusually long and angular. What disturbed me most was its face, or the lack of one. It didn't seem to have eyes, yet I knew it was looking directly at me, and I was looking directly at it. For about 10 to 20 seconds, I couldn't move. I was completely frozen, and my survival instincts finally kicked in, and I ran. I sprinted out of the room and straight to my mom. I was shaking so badly I could barely talk. The only word I managed to get out was, "Closet." My mom and stepdad followed me back into the room to see what I was talking about. The closet door was closed and everything looked normal. My stepdad assumed I had fallen asleep and dreamed the entire thing, but I knew I hadn't. The fear I felt was unlike anything I'd ever experienced before. It didn't feel like a nightmare, it was real. For the next 3 days, I slept in my mom's room. On the second night, I experienced sleep paralysis. My face was turned towards my mom's back, but I could feel something standing at the edge of the bed watching me. I couldn't move, and eventually I forced myself back to sleep because I couldn't handle the fear. After that night, things were quiet for several months. Eventually, I moved back into my room. By then, I had a bunk bed and slept on the bottom bunk, which unfortunately put me even closer to the closet. The second incident happened about 6 months later. This time, I was asleep when my dog woke me up. He was lying beside me and growling towards the closet. I sat up and looked over. The closet door was opening again. Oddly enough, I wasn't as terrified as I had been the first time. I glanced down to calm my dog, then looked back towards the closet. The door was shut, completely shut, as if it hadn't moved at all. I told my mom what had happened and spent that night sleeping in her room again. After that, I never saw the figure in the apartment again, but I started hearing scratching sounds on the walls at night. What stood out was that the scratches always came in groups of 3. Roughly 6 months later, we moved out. Not long after leaving, I learned something disturbing about the apartment. According to information that eventually reached my family, maintenance workers had discovered animal remains hidden inside that closet before we moved in. There were reportedly decapitated heads of a cat, a goat, and several birds, along with a pentagram drawn on the wall in blood. Whether that story was true or not, hearing it made everything feel even more unsettling. What bothered me the most was that moving away didn't make things stop. In many ways, it felt like whatever I had encountered came with me. After leaving the apartment, things seemed relatively normal at first. Then I started noticing shadows. At first, they only appeared in my peripheral vision. I would catch glimpses of a dark silhouette peeking around corners. Whenever I turned to look directly at it, I expected it to disappear like a trick of the eyes. Instead, I would actually see it move. It would slip back behind the corner just before I could get a good look at it. Every time I checked to see if one of my siblings was playing a prank on me, nobody was there. Not long after that, I began hearing my name being called. Sometimes it sounded like one of my siblings. Other times it sounded like someone who wasn't even home. When I asked them about it, they would insist they never called for me. While strange experiences had happened occasionally before, they now became frequent. The constant uncertainty made me increasingly paranoid. Then the nightmares started. These weren't ordinary bad dreams. They were intense, disturbing, and recurring. Eventually, they became so frequent that I had developed insomnia. Even today, I still struggle with sleep because of how often I experience nightmares. At the time, I was around 13 years old. For several years, things remained mostly the same. Then in late 2017, everything changed. My mom went through a major personal crisis that nearly destroyed her mentally. During that period, she became deeply involved in spirituality and occult practices. Whether connected or not, that's when the activities surrounding me seemed to escalate dramatically. The shadow figures became fully visible. Instead of seeing movement around corners, I would see complete dark silhouettes standing at the end of hallways. Then physical contact started. I felt things touching me. Eventually, I experienced scratches that drew blood. One night, while sitting on the couch, I heard a deep, guttural growl directly behind me. It sounded close. Around the same time, doors began slamming shut on their own. Several occasions, doors appeared to lock themselves even though nobody had touched the lock. The fear became so overwhelming that I eventually blocked portions of those experiences from my memory. Years later, those memories came back after a nightmare triggered the same overwhelming terror I had felt during the original closet incident. The moment I woke up, memories I hadn't thought about in years came rushing back. It felt less like remembering and more like reliving them. Toward the end of that same year, my family was evicted. After a brief period of homelessness, my mom found a place for me to stay. Something surprising happened after I moved in. Everything stopped. No voices or figures, no nightmares beyond the usual ones, and no physical encounters. For the first time in years, I felt normal. That peace lasted for about 8 months. Eventually, my mom got clean, completed rehab, and secured housing. When I moved back in with her, life remained normal for nearly 2 years. Then she developed symptoms of meth-induced psychosis. As her mental state worsened, strange experiences began returning. This time, the activity was mostly visual. I could hear my name being called and occasionally see figures peeking around corners. The most memorable incident happened one night while I was trying to sleep. I noticed something standing in my bedroom doorway, and for some reason, I couldn't focus on it directly. Whenever I looked straight at the doorway, I couldn't see it, but whenever I looked away, I could clearly make it out in my peripheral vision. It appeared to be floating motionlessly in the darkness. After several minutes of trying to ignore it, I felt it move into the room. The sensation is difficult to explain. The closest comparison I can give is feeling a gust of wind that isn't actually there. It felt as though something invisible brushed past me. At that exact moment, my computer suddenly woke from sleep mode. Maybe it was coincidence, but either way, that was enough for me. I immediately got out of bed, sat at my computer, and decided I wasn't sleeping that night. Later on, I experienced another episode of sleep paralysis, the classic kind where it feels like something is sitting on your chest while a dark figure looms over you. Fortunately, I moved out only a few months later, and nothing escalated beyond that. As of today, I occasionally catch glimpses of things or experience brief moments of paranoia, but I no longer give them much attention. Whether it's lingering trauma, paranoia, or something I still can't explain, part of me feels like whatever started in that apartment never truly left. Maybe it's waiting, maybe it's not. Either way, I don't spend much time thinking about it anymore. I've suffered with sleep paralysis since I was a child. Throughout all of my years of dealing with this, I've had some truly horrific experiences. However, the one I had a couple of days ago has been the worst one yet. I woke up not feeling the greatest. I was up a few hours, and after not feeling much better, I decided to lay back down and try to nap it off. I was turned on my side, facing away from our bedroom door on the far side of mine and my husband's king-size bed. I felt my body relax, and I fell asleep rather quickly. Next thing I remember is slowly opening my eyes and seeing our bedroom wall and the door that leads to our bathroom, as the bathroom door was closed. I then tried to move and couldn't. As I've been through this many times, I was already mentally telling myself I was in sleep paralysis and I needed to focus on trying to move a little, such as wiggling my fingers, a tip I learned online. However, I'm already feeling scared and I can feel my heart racing. I then hear the sound of our bedroom door open and close behind me as our bedroom door makes a very loud and distinct popping noise. I immediately thought that it was my husband coming in to check on me and thought he'd be able to get me to snap out of this horror. That thought quickly vanished as I heard heavy stomping running around the bed until I stopped directly in front of me, and I see a very large and tall black figure standing in front of our bathroom door. This is the same figure I encounter in almost all of my sleep paralysis experiences. I can never make out any features. Before I can register any other thoughts, the large figure lunges at me. I feel the heavy weight of this thing on my body, and it feels like it's crushing me, especially in my ribs. As previously mentioned, I'm still laid on my side with both my arms pulled up and my hands are tucked under my pillow. By now, I've closed my eyes, and I'm trying so desperately to move. That's when I felt teeth burying into my ribs. I don't know how to truly describe the awful feeling. It's an intense feeling of pressure, pain, and almost a tickling sensation, and it's one of the worst things I've ever felt. At this point, I'm trying to thrash away and trying to scream, but I'm still completely paralyzed, and I feel like I have no air left in me, and I never am able to make a sound. I can literally feel this thing's mouth opening and closing in different spots along the sides of my ribs. At this point, I'm mentally screaming and pleading to snap out of it. Next thing I know, I sit straight up in the bed. My heart is racing. I'm broke out in a cold sweat, and I can still feel tingles in my ribs along my left side. After my eyes dart around the room, and I find it to be completely empty, I lift up my shirt to inspect my side. The skin is not broken, but the whole left side of my ribcage is bright red. I've done a good amount of research on sleep paralysis, and I understand the scientific explanation for it, but waking up with physical marks from these experiences is brand new to me. I've had a ton of anxiety when it's bedtime ever since this experience. I find it a bit hard to believe there's nothing evil or demonic about these sleep attacks.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a like, review, or a comment. As always, the original stories are linked down in the description below, and I claim no credit for the stories themselves. Be sure to follow the show everywhere at Scary But True Pod. And if you have your own scary story that you'd like me to share, email it to me at scarybutTruePod@gmail.com. My name is Michael Messerly, and I'll see you next time with more Scary But True.